My humble respect to Guru Mahan, Guru Piran Sivasankaran, Guru Piranyo, fellow Jnanis. I'm continuing with the theme of chapter 30, but I want to share the experience that I had last week. I was in for a global sustainable development dialogue. And the dialogue was the state of the earth and the state of humanity and everything, all biological life on earth. And the last few satsangs, I've been speaking about human beings and how the evolution helped, nature's helped humans to adapt very quickly and become and evolve to become really successful as a species. While success has helped humanity to some extent, but we see that humans, among all the species, has played a key role in degradation of our planet that supports us and helped us nurture. So I spoke about it in the last few satsangs. And somehow, in whatever we do, human beings has transitioned towards a more profit-maximizing, a short-term perspective of life, such that we see, the earth is paying the price, and when earth is not in harmony, or when health of the planet is impacted, it influences the state of the earth, influences every other biological species and human beings themselves. And we saw that how, in spite of all the technological developments, all the science and so on, we somehow fail to manage the ecosystem in the best possible way. And this is what the dialogue was in Thailand and in many, many places that I visit. And today, if you see the news, the Hajj is going on in Saudi Arabia. A lot of people have died of heat, extreme heat. We're seeing North America, many countries are experiencing extreme heat that is having an impact on the quality of life. And also people's, a lot of people are impacted, including, threatening their life. And of course, livelihood too. So in this, Mahan and other great saints and sages, including many of the spiritual schools of thought, it's been written thousands of years, that all of us have that spirit or the divine spark. And part of spiritual life is to be, in line with the divine spark, which is nature itself. And somehow the human beings have forgotten this. And nature is starting to react. And we see that, the whole discussions and dialogue is that we're supposed to be the most advanced species with our thought processor, with our knowledge, and with all the research centers around the world, yet we are unable to manage the crisis. We have some of the best universities, research centers. We have a lot of resources. Corporations are making millions and trillions of dollars, but yet we have failed to look after the home, the only home that we have as a species. And it is clearly stated in the scriptures and in also by great saints like Mahan that humans are part of this ecosystem. And humans, with all the knowledge and the support nature has given through evolution, that humans have a moral responsibility to make sure that the earth is kept in a state that does not adversely impact not only human life, but every biological life. All scientific evidence shows that human activity is having a major impact, and that's why we are paying the price. So spiritual life means a life of the spirit, which is nature, which is, that embodiment of nature that is imprinted in us. Somehow the human mind has forgotten this, and we have all kinds of challenges. So if you want to see how we as a species have really contributed to the duration of the planet and our own quality of life, look at the link below in this slide of the source there, and you'll see that the report highlights we are in a critical juncture. The temperatures are increasing. The summers have been record high. Flooding and everything else is impacting us. So how do we get back to this? What do we mean by spiritual way of life? Very interestingly, that, most human beings, almost 80 to 90% of the human beings have some form of religion or spiritual values that they have. They spend a lot of time and a lot of money to pray to this force that is beyond our biology, whatever we call it. We spend a lot of money, we spend a lot of resources, but yet, even after all the rituals, we have not understood that we have to transcend the rituals to actual practice. So we pray to the divinity, we pray to the supreme, yet our actions does not dovetail our prayers. We pray, yes, but the prayer said that we have to be good to, the divinity and to get the grace, yet we pollute that which is divine. Our rivers, our lakes, our atmosphere. And so we only know it theoretically, in spite of all the education, research centers. We don't see that simple connection between us, the divinity, and nature itself. So we see nature as external to us and not internal. Yet nature is that which gives birth to everything, the divinity that gives rise to everything. So the whole dialogue in Thailand I was visiting is how do we bring back that values? How do we bring back that mindset to reconnect with the spirit in us? Everything that we do must have a soul, S-O-U-L. What does that mean? Right? Everything we do is very much mechanical, material, short-term focus, and very much profit maximizing, greed-centric. The soul is no more there. Everything is an object to be used. And the scriptures and the Mahans warn us that if we don't have a soul connection to whatever we do, what we learn, what we think, what we do, we see that as how everything is short-term, our lifespan will also be short-term. If we don't reboot our way of thinking, if we don't reboot our economic systems, nature will boot us out of the ecosystem. And this is what we see in all the scriptures, all the Mahans. So the dialogue in Thailand, so I had a chance to speak in 3 forums over a span of 3 days. I sat through many presentations, very, very good presentations. The gist of it is that the health of the planet is closely linked to the health of all biological beings, including humans and our economies. When we don't manage the planet, when we harm the planet, it has a knock-on effect on all of this. So no matter how much we pray or we meditate and all those things, it doesn't really matter if our actions do not dovetail. So in many scriptures, they, take nature, everything in nature as divinity itself. Somehow, we have become very mechanical in our meditation, in our prayers, that we miss that nature that is embedded outside is also within us. And that's what meditation and yoga is, to bring us back to that nature-centric. Yoga means to be in union with. To be in union with is to be in union with nature or Mother Nature, that expanded divinity that is seamlessly integrated with us. So the discussion was that everything that we do must have a soul. What does that soul means? That's the first S is actually seamless integration of everything in nature is embedded with us. So when that seamless connection interlinkages, what we do externally impacts us through our health, through our interactions, mental health, physical health, and also our spiritual health. So when we don't see the seamless connection, we see that we get disconnected from nature or the spirit that is embedded in us. And that's why most people don't get it. Even though how qualified they are, they can't get that soul connection, that divine connection. So that first door that opens up is that seamless integration of everything outside with us. That's the soul, first door. The second door is actually the whole idea of, as a soul connection, we see that we have to be, really our mind should be not just outward, but really making sure that whatever we do, not just think of ourselves, in a selfish way, but opportunity creating for everyone else to have that soul connection, that opportunity creating. Our mind is, having that expanded, transitioning from the selfishness to the selflessness. This is what the great saints and sages say, that the whole idea of we are here to learn, to experience, but also to be able to transition, to be able to create opportunities for others to learn and thrive, not just being selfish for our own progress and development. That is why you see that the people who are very peaceful are also the ones that actually create opportunity for nature to thrive, for other beings to thrive, and also for other people to thrive. So a soul connection is everybody should benefit from this nature. But what do humans do? Very interestingly, human beings, they maximize, I maximize the resources as much as I can, but not thinking about others, far less the future generation. So, whenever we contaminate Earth, we have to remember that other people are impacted. We have to remember that our next generation will have to live with that waste. And I love this beautiful quote by the native, which is very native proverb, that says that we don't inherit the earth from our ancestors. We borrow it from our children. So when we leave a mess on earth, it's our children that pay the price. So we are seeing contamination of microplastics. We are seeing contamination, really, a lot of pollution in the air. We see waste management. So our children, our future generation, are impacted with all kinds of diseases, So we actually are handicapping them. So the soul connection is to think through, introspect, contemplate, reflect, meditate, and that service mindset that whatever we are blessed with the resources, we should be, making sure that, nature thrives in the process. Our actions help nature to thrive, biological beings to thrive, other people to thrive, and the future generation to thrive. This is what the second door of opportunity creating. The third door is actually a more universal mindset, right? What does that mean, universal mindset? It means that we see ourselves as part of the universe and the universe part of us, right? The whole idea is that it is not I, me, myself. It is but seeing we are part of the greater collective consciousness, right? The universal mindset that whatever I do has a reverberative effect on the universe, and that comes back to us. So that more broader mindset, learning from nature, learning from the native communities, learning from others, integrating into our own value systems, and then percolating that nature-centric values to everybody. That is what universal mindset, not a very dogmatic belief system, right? And you see there are many native communities, have that universal mindset. We don't own anything. We are part of the collective consciousness. So in this dialogue, we have people from different spiritual backgrounds sharing the similar views, right? That we have to, part of the spiritual journey is to be able to touch that spirit in us, right? The first S, if we don't have that spirit in us, we will not have that soul connection. We would not have that seamless connection, seamless integration. And the last door is that we have so much crisis, so much challenges, and it's crippling for many people. It is not just, help impacting people's physical health, but also mental health. So when we have that soul connection, the fourth door opens up, which is actually about liberation. We become liberated from all the challenges that impact humanity and society. How nice it is to live a very liberated life, not be having good health, good mental health, productive, creative. You can do anything, that is, nourishing you and nourishing nature, the people around you, and all the relationship. Somehow the soul connection is not there in our education, in our research, in the way we engage with society and communities and nature. It has become very mechanical, very profit maximizing, as opposed to purpose maximizing. So this call has been there by great saints, sages, including Mahan. We have to go back to nature, So the whole dialogue in this forum is about that. How do we achieve this? How do we bring that values, values-driven, mindset, a values-driven development agenda, a values-driven, administrative processes, right? How do we bring integrity systems in place to ensure that what we do today does not have an adverse impact onto others and the future generation? This is what the whole dialogue is. And I was able to share some of the values-driven, research ideas that our team has been working on. And it's aligned to many of the spiritual values of great saints and sages, including Mahan. So I just want to take you through some of the discussions and dialogue, so that while meditating is very important, while prayer is very important, we have to see that the meditation and the prayer must give us that soul connection with nature, the environment, the people, and the things around us. So to take this discussion further, we see that in the dialogue, what were the crises that we are facing as human beings? And I said existential crisis that we have. We see that, look at everything that we do. This is called the triple planetary health crisis. It's about whatever we do has an impact on pollution, biodiversity loss, climate change. They're all interrelated. And the earth is being transformed by human beings. So, as I said in the earlier part of the discussions, in the earlier clips, in satsangs, in spite of all the developments that we had, all the education, all the scientific inquiries, yet we have made the earth a more difficult place to live compared to, the early periods. So the planet is really in crisis at the present moment. So we see many dialogues with different people coming together, corporate sector, government, community organization, religious organization, universities, research centers, And Mahan's another great saying that you can do all the discussion and dialogues, but if you don't have that soul connection to whatever you do, we're not going to make any dent. So as what Mahan said, if a human mind is not at peace, the world will not be at peace, right? So we have wars. Can you imagine the 21st century? We still have conflicts. We use still tribal methods to solve our conflicts and not an intellectual approach to solve conflicts. See, millions of people, hundreds and thousands of people have been dying, causing so much in all the wars. We cause so much environmental degradation that society is going to be paying for the next hundreds of years. So again, the discussions and dialogue is, as I said, great to have all this meditation and all this prayers, but we have to have that soul connection. We show this through our own research that if we don't do anything, we see that by the time temperature is already 1.5, and we see that as we progress further, there is potential extinction looming for human beings. And Earth doesn't need us. We need Earth more than Earth needs us. If human beings are wiped out of the surface of the Earth, Earth will regenerate itself. So we see that we really need to move towards a values-driven mindset, which is actually what the great saints and sages have been saying, that we have to change our ways if we want to survive as a species, right? So this is our work, both Prof. Shanta and colleague of mine, Professor Ahmed, and myself been working on it. And we show that we human beings are in deep trouble. And we can see that actually all the last 12 months and 18 months and COVID, we are paying a big price. And we will continue to pay a big price if we don't change our ways. So what is the issue? And this is where we've got to take a very spiritual approach. So we see that, from 1970 to 2020, our economies have grown, but our population also grew to 7.8 billion. As of June 6, we are 8.1 billion, right? But yet we still have 1.3 billion people are poor, 700 million people are hungry. Not that the earth doesn't have the resources. We do have the resources to meet everybody's needs, is what Gandhi said. But we don't have the resources to meet everybody's greed, right? So we're seeing corporate sectors are making billions and billions of dollar profit, but people's incomes are declining. We see greenhouse gases increasing, chemical pollution. We're starting to see, human activities impacting every facet of, nature system. So the risk is that, it is, as I said, going to impact, our health and economies and development. So we need to have a nature-friendly, we need to make peace with nature, right? Because otherwise nature is going to take, kick us out of the system. So again, we need the whole dialogue in Bangkok and many, many countries is that how do we look at sustainable economic development? How do we manage our waste properly? How do we use our space and resources more effectively to support life and to provide resources and, absorb waste? How do we, restore and adapt, to overcome? When we do that, we overcome poverty and the whole host of challenges that we have, as I said, under the Sustainable Development Goals. So we are far off. Although in 2015, the Sustainable Development Goals were brought in, we are not close to achieving the targets. We will miss the target because of taking a very materialistic approach as opposed to a spiritual approach to life. So you see that great saints and sages are not just talking about meditating and introspecting, but also how do we connect that to society itself. I want to spend some time on this quote because it's got very deep spiritual meaning. I want you to think about this very, very carefully. The author of this is unknown. But what it says is that, I speak to many people and they ask me, what is the purpose of my life? I've been living, some of them are very successful, some of them are struggling, some of them are materially very successful, mentally have challenges, relationship-wise have challenges. Many of them have families, children, but they say, I'm an orphan. Many of them live in big, big homes, but they say that I have not had a good night's sleep, right? Many of them say, I have all the resources, but my health doesn't enable me to live a full life. So we see that even how successful materially, when people are poor spiritually, you see that all these challenges, managing conflicts, managing work pressure, all kinds of pressure becomes a challenge. And you see that Mahans and other great saints say that, and in many countries, depression rates are going up, mental health is going up, non-communicable disease trends are going up. And you see that this high use of medications. Mahans and other great saints say that, look, yes, modern medication can help. But if we learn to manage our mind, if we practice mindfulness, if we practice introspection, contemplation, reflection, meditation, we can pretty much transition for many of the ailments that we have from medication to meditation. Meditation can replace many of this, meditation can help, manage and even in some cases overcome some of those challenges, particularly that is related to mental stress and so on. And mental stress has got an impact on all other physical, ailments. So here, I love this quote. It says that if we want to discover our human spirit, if we want to have that soul connection, if we want to touch the divinity in us, we need a place where nature has not been rearranged by the hand of man. What does that mean? You can never achieve this through a material pursuit. You can never achieve this by changing things through material approaches. It has to be something that is not touched by the human hand or the material mind. So if the human spirit is to achieve this peace, tranquility, the universality, and enlightenment, it has to be in a place where there's absence of materiality. And this brings back to, meditation, this deep introspection, contemplation, reflection, and meditation. In that deep meditation, the tapas, we see that the whole material world folds in and becomes quiet. And in that quietude, you see that all our neurotransmitters, there's a jump in the bandwidth. The jump in the bandwidth enables us to experience the most subtlest of the subtlest of our being, which is the spirit. And the mind is so noisy with all the materiality, we see that we don't touch that infinite possibility and potentiality of the spirit. So great saints, Mahans say, look, if you want to get to that abode of universal peace sanctuary, it has to be a place that is not touched by the materiality. And I love this quote. The human spirit needs places where nature has not been rearranged by the hand of humans. So which means the nature is embedded in us that is not touched by our material approaches to life. So even how much money we have, how much knowledge we have, how many degrees we have, how much people praise, how much decorative title we have, we will not be able to, attain this abode until and unless we learn to quieten the mind, attain that quietude that reveals our true nature, which is actually the spirit, that soul connection. So if you want to have the divine connection, the divinity, discover the divinity, we have to every day put in the effort to have that soul connection through that deep meditation. Allocate some time. We have 24 hours. Say 8 hours you sleep. That's 1/3 of our human existence per day. We have 16 hours left. At least allocate 1 hour for that spiritual soul connection. And you see that, and you bring that soul connection to the remainder 15 hours in everything that you do. So you're not disconnected. It's not just, so as you do this, you have 8 hours of you are in the deep sleep, which is actually a spiritual realm that you're in. The whole material world disappears, dissipates. Time is not there. The material existence is not there. But you train that 1 hour while you're awake to have that soul connection so that the mind is aware of that universal personality that is embedded in us. And then when the mind catches that wind of that spirit, it learns to use that wind of that spirit of transcendentality in every facet of our 15 hours remaining. So even though you're engaged in the material world, you are inspired, you are, positive, you are inspirational. So while you're doing this material things, you're not perturbed or impacted by it, but you do it in a beautiful way, in a very graceful way. And this is what Mahans and great says, and this quote is saying that when we have that soul connection, you're able to experience that divine human spirit in every facet of our lives. So you see, always be happy, even though what the circumstances are. You know, there's a beautiful passage that I covered yesterday, the Bhagavad Gita. Very nice quote, which I want to share with all of you. You know how human beings give all kinds of excuses of not doing the meditation or not attending satsangs because say I'm busy with work, I'm busy with traffic, this traffic, that, all those excuses. So there is a part in Bhagavad Gita which is so beautifully said. Sri Krishna calls both the two adversaries, Arjuna and Duryodhana. He says, I am fair to the two of you all. He says, I let you choose. This is the divinity speaking. So think of Sri Krishna as that soul, that spirit, the divinity in you, asking you, you have a choice, right? Either you choose me or you choose the 10 generals that I have that will help you with the battle. Let me repeat this again. So the divinity is asking, either you choose me or you choose the 10 material generals that will help you with your battles. So Duryodhana looked at this and said, I will choose the 10, generals. And Sri Krishna said, are you sure? He said, yes. So he chose all the best generals. Arjuna said, okay, I will choose you. Since he has chosen, I will choose you. Sri Krishna, who's the epitome of the spiritual reality, divinity. It's a story that was written by a great saint, but there's very deep meaning, right? The story here goes the following. So Sri Krishna says, no problem. So Duryodhana chose his material generals. Arjuna chose his spiritual general. Arjuna had 7 million army. Duryodhana had 10 million. According to battle, the 10 million should win. But Duryodhana chose the best generals in the world to have, the battle Arjuna. But Arjuna chose Sri Krishna, the spiritual general. And what happened was that the spiritual general told him, don't worry, I will ride your chariot for you. So can you imagine the divinity is riding your chariot? When the divinity rides your chariot, right, should you be worried about anything? Right? This is the question that I ask. So when we have that soul, so often we have a choice that should I take that spiritual journey to listen, hear, and learn, or should I say, oh, I'm busy with work, I got this, I got that, I got traffic jam? The moral of the story is that though Duryodhana had the 10 generals, all the 10 generals were slain by Arjuna, who took Sri Krishna, the divinity, as his charioteer. The day the human mind takes the divinity as the charioteer of their chariot to ride this material journey, they'll be able to overcome the 10 sugadukas, 10 humanly samsaric karmic forces. So here, when I reflect back this Bhagavad Gita, the Bhagavan's Gita, and look at all the other scriptures, the choices that we make in life, yes, we are all busy with our own things, but we have to make the right choices. Or when we choose the divinity, that soul connection, the yoga, the practice, the teachings, you see that we're able to address all the other challenges. Yeah, our work will be done properly. Our thinking, our creativity, all will go up, right? And we'll be able to serve in the best possible way. So every time that that's part of the introspection, is that every time we make choices, we ask, is it a soul connection? Is it a spiritual divine approach? Or are we giving excuses to focus back on the 10 material generals to tweak things around to make things better? No, it has to be much more deeper. And today we see that while we have all this technology and everything, we still have people with a lot of, anxieties, challenges, and require major help. But as Mahan and other great saints says that if you have that soul connection, that spiritual connection every day, we see that, we can transition to overcome, all the challenges that confront us in a very spiritual way. So this is what I learned in when I was in Bangkok, that to solve these problems, to help, ourselves and humanity to live, we have to have that nature-centric spiritual connection to make the transition. And the same thing, if we want at the micro level, at the human level, individual level, we have to make right choices. As a species, we have to make the right choices. And if we don't, I think, we will pay the prices. We will still not be able to attain an enlightened and spiritual life. We'll be running in circles and, trying to fix this, fix that in a kind of micro level, but we will not get anywhere. So, as what beautifully say, we take one step ahead, 10 steps backwards, right? But if you do that regular meditation, attending great talks, being inspired, when we take one step, nature takes a million steps, helping us to the next stage of development. With that, Sandosham.